so much, Maria. Very glad to be here. So thanks, guys, for inviting me. You're absolutely right. It's just the midnight here, so I will be trying to talk not so loud because there are many people most probably sleeping in other apartments in the same building, so just not to disturb them. Also, you can see some decoration here. So we had my wife's birthday yesterday. And with all this, I think we can get started. So let me share my screen first. And just let me know if you see the presentation and it's full screen. All good?
Yep.
Wonderful. So I'm Dmitry. I'm from Atlassian, as Maria mentioned. And just let me, sorry, just 1 second. I don't see my mouse. It's interesting. Okay, never mind. So I'm from Atlassian. I'm from Jira Cloud. I've been working here for a year and a half. And today I want to talk mostly about challenges that we have, that I personally have, and I think that any company could have when your product, as you mentioned, is quite mature. So when it's, let's say in case of Atlassian and Jira, 18 years old. There are many different challenges, mostly connected with many dependencies, many teams, complexity of product itself, expectations of customers. And there are many things that could help you to deal with this. And basically, I was asked many times by my friends and by my ex-colleagues when I moved to Atlassian, like, how do you do things there? What are your processes, and what's the unique secret sauce of Atlassian? Like, what did it make so popular in terms of usage and in terms of success of the company and the product, in particular Jira? And I was trying to think about during this year and a half almost, and I found that actually it's kind of business as usual. We do pretty much the same things which any normal product manager should do, like customer development. We are looking at the right metrics, we are iterating and learning, we are establishing the right agile processes, and following all these best practices which are well known in the product management world. At the same time, I always felt that something is a bit different. There are some unique things that I've never seen before, which is worth to talk about. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So mostly I will be talking about small different tips and tricks that I found and that I observed in Atlassian, which may be not so important independently, but altogether I believe that's what could make the secret sauce that helps you to move faster and keep the ball rolling when your product is quite large and quite complicated, as you will see a bit later. And before I start, just let me say a few words about myself. So I've been working here for, as I mentioned, a year and a half as a product manager. Before this, actually, I was in Reich managing a team of product managers. So again, just glad that you guys invited me here. Very cool to see many familiar faces. And before Reich, I was a product manager in many different companies. And originally I started as a software developer in Microsoft, but I kind of pivoted quite quick to product management. And I still think it was the right decision. So now I think we can get it started. So, and before we talk about tips and tricks that I mentioned, I want just to give you the better context and to share some vision about what challenges do we face with on a regular basis. And because of this, I want to start from the beginning. And it's quite right, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was really a long time ago, 2002, and it was quite far, like Australia is quite far from almost everything in the world. So Sydney 2002, that was the year when two founders of Atlassian, at the time they were fresh graduates, created this company and launched the first version of Jira. And just to give you the better understanding of how long ago was it, this year was when Euro was officially launched in Eurozone and everyone started to use Euro in some of the countries. That year was when Windows XP was launched just a couple of months ago, actually in 2001, in December, I believe, but still it was just the very, very early stage of Windows XP adoption. And lately, last but not least, the second part of Lord of the Rings was launched this year. So long ago. And the first version of Jira was launched that year, and it looked kind of like this. So it was pretty straightforward and simplified in terms of the experience. And the main idea of Jira, I think most of you are familiar with Jira or at least heard about it, but in a few words, that was, and it is still, a tool for, as it's called, issue tracking and project management. So that time, the main competitor and the best example on the market was Bugzilla, another tool for bug tracking and issue tracking. So the main goal of Jira was to compete with Bugzilla and actually suit the needs of similar customers who used Bugzilla before this. And 18 years later, Jira is still doing well. It's kind of a well-known product in the market, I think. It still has the main audience as a software development teams. And that's actually the product developed by engineers for engineers. So that's the main Jira solution. Jira software is tailored for software development teams. And out of the box, you have such things as sprints, agile, backlog, integration with DevOps tools and development tools. And all these things are kind of help you to get on board and to streamline your software development process. And that was always the main target audience of Jira, but lately we launched several more vertical solutions for other audiences as well, but still software development is the main market, I would say. And that's how it looks like right now, right? So you have boards, you have different sections, and altogether it gives you quite a sophisticated solution. And now let me talk a bit more about, I would say, complexities that we have and challenges that we have with Jira. So originally we had just one Jira, and from the beginning it was definitely Jira Server, because in 2002, I mean, if you're building a solution for B2B, definitely it should be on premise. I mean, we almost didn't have any cloud solutions, especially for business in 2002. So it was Jira Server, and around 5 or 6 years ago, we had so-called fork, where we split, when we split Jira Server to Jira Server and Jira Cloud. And started from this moment, we already started to have two kind of different products, because different teams were managing these products. They had different goals and different metrics, and even different audiences, because Jira Server was always for huge enterprise customers who are after scalability, performance, and all the things that normally enterprise customers are looking for. When Jira Cloud was kind of catching up with all the feature gaps and all the things that we already had in the server, at the same time trying to suit the needs of medium-sized customers. So definitely we also have large enterprise customers in cloud as well. So that's already some kind of complexity that you could have when you have two types of products, server and cloud. So there is kind of challenge mostly connected with consistency of what you do and dependencies with other teams that actually build completely different products, which still actually the same product. So duality in place as well. So, but it's even more complex. You have vertical solutions based on top of Jira. Jira Software, Jira Core, Jira Service Desk, all of them are built on top of Jira Platform, and they have very quite a lot of similar features or even the same features, but at the same time, there are different solutions tailored for different needs of different type of customers or type of the teams. So for example, Jira Service Desk is for help desk teams who work with tickets, and definitely software is for software development, and core is for general project management. And we have the same set of vertical solutions for cloud. And again, these three vertical solutions for both for cloud and server, they are a bit different, each of them, for server cloud. And that brings another challenge in many different ways, actually. And to make it even more interesting, we have something special for Jira Cloud, which is called Jira NextGen, next generation of projects. And I'm from this team, I'm from this group of teams who is working on Jira NextGen, with the main goal to build actually a new Jira inside the old Jira. We introduced another type of project within the same product, within the same list of projects in, let's say, classic Jira. But this new type of project is absolutely different and built from scratch. And we're trying to keep all the same granularity and flexibility of Jira, but to make it more streamlined and straightforward. And that brings another complexity or challenge, if you will, compared with server, because in server, we don't have next-gen Jira. So that's one angle of how we can look at this from. So another complexity or another challenge is in the power of Jira itself. And just to give you some example, let me walk you through this story. When I joined Atlassian, I took an exercise. I mean, we have an exercise for all newcomers where you need to configure a Jira instance to establish some process according to the instruction. And you need to configure the right issue types, workflows, fields, and all these things that define the process, your workflow, your process of your team and your projects. And the first step was you need to create a new issue type and map it to some certain projects. So for your better understanding, issue type is just a type of work that you can have in your project, like epics, stories, subtasks, like type of work. And it's customizable. You can actually create any new issue type. And I thought, too easy. I just need to open Jira configuration, and most probably then I figure out what to do. So that's the Jira configuration page. You have many different sections on the left. And the first one is issue types. So I went there. Actually, I managed to create the issue type. And then I found that there are many more different sections, and I have no idea what does it mean, like screen schemas, issue type, screen schemas, workflow schemas. Like, how does this work? I create issue type, but I still don't see it in my project. And I Googled it. And I found an article, most probably written by someone from Atlassian, I believe, where it was described how to configure your Jira. And it turned out to be the whole process. Just long story short, if you want to configure your project, you need to create an issue type. And then using issue type scheme, you need to map this issue type with your project. So your project know which issue type to use. But that's not enough. You need to create fields if you want to use any kind of fields in your issue, which is mapped with this issue. And using field configuration scheme, map this field with this project. So this project know which fields to use with which issue types. But if you want to reflect these fields and pop up them at some certain moments of your process. So let's say when you task is moved from one status to another, you want your teammates to fill in some certain field. You need to build screens, and using screen scheme which maps screen with issue types. You need then to map screen scheme through issue type screen scheme with project, which define which issue type use screen through issue type screen scheme. And I think you got the idea. So it turned out that that's a whole process, and there is a whole certification for Jira admins to configure Jira. And there is a role in large enterprise companies, like separate role, Jira administrator, where people just sit all the day and do this stuff based on the requirements from project managers and those who work with Jira every day. And that's like, my first thought was like, wait, it's too complicated. Like, how could it work? Like how anyone could love it. But then it turned out for me that actually that's the main power and the main value of the product, because it helps you, it enables you to build, I mean, any kind of the process of any level of complexity that you want. Like, imagine the biggest company in the world which work on the most complicated products through the most complicated processes. You can build this process through Jira and in Jira. And that's both advantage and definitely a huge challenge, especially from product management perspective. Because yes, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you do something, when you make some improvements, and especially try to make them, to build them iteratively and to build them one after another and learn as we go and use all these agile methodologies, it's almost like you built a plane with all the technologies, with all the engines, and with all the small details, but which is more interesting. This plane is still kind of flying, and you need to do this on the go. So the main question that I'm trying to tackle and to answer during this presentation is, so how to move the needle and deliver incremental value when your plane is actually at 40K feet and your customers are happily relaxing in business class and you don't want to disturb them. How do you want to change, and how can you change something in this product when you have so many vertical solutions, so many different versions of the product, and so powerful and challenging at the same time architecture of the product? How is it possible at all to make any change and not to, just to be overwhelmed with all these challenges? So that's like, spoiler alert, that's possible. That's what we do. And I think we are doing well. And again, we are following quite the regular product management practices. And business as usual, but there are some things that stood out for me that I believe are quite interesting and I've never seen them before that help us to build the right things. And let's start. So the first thing that I believe help us to move faster and to keep the ball rolling is that our product help itself us to move faster. So, and then now I'm going to walk through some kind of advices that I would give to myself if I were to build a new company. And the first advice would be try to build a platform for growth. And especially the first thing, try to build an ecosystem around your product. And that's what they did in Jira and actually in Atlassian in general. So in Jira, we have the whole marketplace available for our Jira customers. So people can build their apps on top of Jira. Companies do their business building these apps and selling them to Jira customers. Jira customers using these apps and asking developers of these apps for new features instead of asking for these features us. Developers of these apps build features that are missed on the product where they see opportunity, which helps us to stay focused on the right things without reacting to all the frequent and maybe sudden and urgent requests from large customers. This marketplace thing is the eye-opener for me because it seems like that's just a deal breaker if you want to move fast and if you want to keep focused on your main strategy instead of small separate features that could be required or asked for by your customers. And just to give some examples, like how could it help you? So first of all, if you go to the Atlassian community where customers discuss different features or problems and try to solve them, you will see that there are almost no requests for features on customer behalf from customers to Atlassian. Like they normally walk through some problems, they name some problems, they ask questions, and then other people come to the thread and say that most probably you can't solve this problem through this or another app, or as in this example, they even promote their own apps here. And also they normally just discuss ecosystem apps, APIs, and scripts that you can build to solve this problem. I mean, it really helps us, first of all, to see how to stay focused, as I mentioned, on the right goals and on the right things. Also, it helps us to not derail ourselves, and it helps other people to build business. But on top of this, but which is most important, it helps us to build the right partnership with developers of these apps. So imagine if you have another 1,000 of actually product managers who know what your customers need, and you can talk with them on a regular basis and define and discuss who should build what and how we should keep the right balance, what is built inside the product and what is built by the vendors. I mean, that's massive. I mean, that was a deal breaker and eye opener for me when I came here, that we don't need to build everything. We just need to build the most powerful and the right things here at Jira. And that's cool. Another advice that I would give to myself is that solutions are good, but platforms rule the world. And here at Atlassian, we have a whole bunch of different platforms and different layers. First of all, we have cloud platform. So we have many different products here, not only Jira, we have Confluence, Trello, Bitbucket, Opsgenie, and many more. And there is a cloud platform that lies underneath and helps us to unify experience and streamline this product to product transition for our customers in many different ways, in user login, in access, in audit log, and different security things. I mean, that's really helps us to stay focused on the customer needs in terms of this solution itself, when all the platform things are built in cloud platform and available for any product at the same time. I mean, that's really beneficial. Also, we have Jira platform. So I'm personally from Jira platform. We build things that are available for many vertical solutions at the same time. So I'm personally working on workflows and workflow editing experience. So it means that when I implement new feature and we as a team implement new feature in the workflow, it's available at that moment for all the vertical solutions. Jira Software, Jira Core, Jira Service Desk. Again, we have this platform way of building things. And when we build or when we have an initiative to build something, we always can have a discussion whether it's a platform-ish thing or whether it's something that should be built as a solution. And that again helps in the future when you want to build something new. It could turn out that you already have this as a platform feature somewhere else, and you can just reuse it even from the different product. That's cool. And also we have, as I call it, configuration platform. So it means that we have solutions, definitely. We have solutions that are tailored for certain type of customers and customer groups. But at the same time, our features in the product are built in such a way that they can be used in unexpected use cases, even in Jira workflows, which I am working on. So in Jira workflows, we have many different workflow rules, and you can build if-then logic to define different conditions. And here, definitely keep in mind many use cases that our customers are looking for when we build new rules for the workflow. At the same time, there are so many new ways of using rules and so many use cases that I find when I talk with customers that I was not aware of and that we even didn't expect, that it's just, it really helps. First of all, because it helps customers to find a new way of using your product, and then you can use it to actually find new opportunities on the market and to build new vertical solutions, because actually it seems like, hey, your customers are already using your product in this way that you didn't expect. But thank you that you allow them to do this because you build things in a platformish way. And now you can leverage this and build something on top of this as a vertical solution, and which will scale up your business and will help you to move faster. That's cool. That's another thing that I would always keep in mind for myself. And the last thing, just want to mention it briefly, I think that's kind of unique for Atlassian itself. We have a pretty interesting business model, which is e-commerce business model. We don't have sales managers. We don't have sales at all. Our customers try Jira, try other products, opt in, give it a try. If they like it, then deploy it to the whole team. They pitch it to the whole organization, and eventually we have wall-to-wall deployment without any sales activity. And I mean, there are many different benefits of this, but the main benefit that I see is, for me personally as a product manager, that we have our customers as partners who not pushing us for something because we never pushed them for something. I mean, they know that they made this decision by themselves. They tried the product, they liked it, and they deployed it with maybe our help of our consultants. And if they miss something in the product, they will never push us. They will build by themselves a partnership relationship with us, because they understand that we never push them. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to push us. And we just need to discuss together how we can improve the product. And again, keep in mind, marketplace, apps that help us to make customers happy. And eventually, we all work together as partners, and there is almost no push in any sense in what we do on everyday basis. We just build the product better without hard deadlines, because we don't have, let's say, sales who push the product to do something faster, without stress of, I will talk more about this, but we have value, which is called exactly like don't fuck the customer. Sorry for this, but that's the exact word. And we know that we're not going to F any of the customers, because I mean, we are not promising them anything because they are not pushing us for this. I mean, that's very good. So that's another very unique thing that I noticed here and observed, and that helps us to move faster again. So that was mostly about what helps us to do things faster in the right way. But what can we do by ourselves? And another group of ideas or observations is about processes that we built here. And the main idea, or the main advice, is that it would be cool if you can build such a process which guide your people, guide your teams, and have some kind of governance, so you can make sure that you are moving in the right direction as a whole company. At the same time, there is always need to be a space for freedom and for creativity and for things, for moments when teams should keep the right balance by themselves and define the processes by themselves. So far sounds a bit abstract, but wait for it. So the first thing that stood out for me again, how we actually manage the teams here. Normally, in all the companies where I worked before, product manager is the only leader of the team, which means that normally as a product manager, you're defining the vision, you're defining the roadmap. I mean, we do it here as well, but you are the only you're the only guy who say team what to do, when to do, and why it is important. Here at Atlassian, we have a notion of triads, when you have engineering, team lead, designer, and product manager who manage the team together as a triad. And these three persons, they are equal in terms of decision-making and discussions and leading the team. So, by the way, that's my triad. So that's Nicole, awesome designer, the best, I think one of the best designers that I've ever seen. Christopher, team lead, who've been working here at Atlassian for years, like many years, and he know all the small details of the architecture. He know all the hidden places and pieces of Jira that I wouldn't find by myself ever. And so I'm personally mostly focused, as normally PM product managers do, on customer value, business opportunities, competitors, and all these things. And altogether, we define what the team should be working on. And that's okay, and that's expected when designers come with their initiatives and they say that we need to build this because we have experience depth and we cannot afford not doing this. Or engineering lead saying that we have technical depth and we need 2 sprints of the team just to work on this. And I don't have the right to say that we are not doing this if I don't have the right arguments to do the opposite. And I mean, it's normally happened, I think, in many different companies, but here we are truly equal in terms of decision-making. And we are always trying to keep the right balance, which means we don't have much of tech depth here. We don't have much of experience depth and UX depth. So we are all the time building all the things in the right balance, mostly because of this. And I've never seen this before, and it's a very different thing. And you actually should get used to it as a PM when you see that you are not the only one who is leading the team. You are not the only one who can be the leader. And that's totally up to you how this will work for you. So it works well for me. So we are doing the right things. We are keeping the right balance, and we are working really great as a team. But that's something that I found very interesting here. Talking about decisions, we have some space for creativity, but also we have some things that are well-defined, streamlined, and you just need to follow this process if you want to make this happen. And we have streamlined process when it comes to decision-making, especially if we talk about impactful decisions, especially one-way door decisions, when we need to make the right call and we have only one option to do this, only one opportunity to do this. And there is a whole process which is called DAISY, which states for driver, approver, contributors, and informed. That process helps you to, it defines the process and it defines the steps which you need to take to make the decision and to fix this decision, and make everyone sure that this decision is made, and most probably it was very well walked through and discussed, and it's kind of okay to move forward and never come back to the decision, because most probably we did our best to make our decision and this decision right now. Definitely we can reiterate on decisions if market changes or some external factors ask us to do this, but decision making is a very important process here. And we have Confluence page, Confluence template for this. We have the whole process, and the driver of the decision, creating the page, explaining all the options, driving the decision. Finally, someone should approve this decision and we fix it. And the best part of it, that we have a track of all of the decisions during these 18 years in one single place. And just to understand, this could be like huge decisions, business-driven decisions, or market opportunity decisions, like those which could really long time to discuss and to make a call. And the good part about this is that we have new people come in all the time into Atlassian. Like, we're growing very fast. And these people are smart, and they are always going to challenge all the decisions that we made in the past. And if we didn't have this, kind of database of all the decisions, we would need to spend another day for any new reiteration of the same topic. And it's so helpful when you can just go back and walk through all the decisions made in this company for years, and just then come back and say, okay, we don't want to discuss this, and we don't need to discuss this because it seems it was considered and walked through 2 years ago, and it still makes sense. That's good, all good. We should go and move forward. So that's something that I really like here, and most probably I will bring with myself to wherever I go, because that's something that really helps to move forward. So then, next advice, next thing that I noticed, that here everyone trying to build shared understanding of all the things that happen here. And let me talk first about our tool set that we have here at Atlassian. So we definitely use Confluence as a wiki, as a documentation tool where we store all the documents from specs to sprint plans and reports and outcomes reports and everything, like all the companies stored in Confluence. And also we definitely use Jira for all the development related things like issues, bugs, work items, sprints, all this stuff. Definitely Slack and calendar. But the main thing here that I want to emphasize, that this documentation part is extremely important. So what I said before about decisions and decision making is applicable to actually everything that we do here. There is a whole culture of documenting and writing down the things that happen in here, from features to specs to any decisions to any outcomes to anything. We have documented everything. And it's a bit time consuming, but again, when you have a company of this size and with this kind of history, long history, it's the only way of keeping everyone on the same page, especially when you have so many different teams focused on different goals and different strategies. So just want to again emphasize that this culture of documenting everything and having a really good structure of all the decisions, documents, and everything that we have in the company over years is something that I liked. Next one. That's a fun one. Prioritize human interaction over tools. So these are several photos that I found on my phone that I took in the office. And you can see there are a whole bunch of sticky notes. And the whole office of Atlassian is covered with sticky notes and different printed out papers with different texts and all these things. And I was always curious about why is it happening here in this way? Why don't we just go online and do all the things online? And there is one example. We have a research team who helps us with many different things. In particular, they help us with analyzing customer feedback. And there is a process called affinity sorting, when they walk through all the feedback made by customers, and they categorize this feedback and then share it with the whole company on a regular monthly basis. And anyone who is interested can apply and take a part in this process and help them to categorize the feedback. So that's what I did. I applied, and then I was asked to come to their part of the office when we had office and help them during a couple of hours. So I came there. It was a small room, all covered with sticky notes, and then explained me that I need to take a paper, like hard copy of the feedback, many pieces of feedback from customers, walk through it and write down on sticky notes the most important parts of this feedback, and then categorize them, sticking them on the right place on the wall. And my question obviously was, why is it so hard? Why don't we just do it online? And they said, like, you would see. And it turned out that it makes sense. I spent there a couple of days going in, going out. Several more people were coming in, coming out. We were talking about feedback. We were talking about the product, asking different questions each other, talking actually about different random stuff. And after a while, I found that, first of all, I know so many new people in the company that I never met before. Second of all, I know so many new things about the product that we discussed there that I never heard about before. And also, I'm kind of confident and I know what's the customer feedback, which is one of the most important parts of the product manager job, that I found that actually it makes sense to have this kind of process when you just get together, do some paperwork, do some talking, and eventually you share the information, and somehow naturally it happens that everyone is aware of everything and everyone knows everyone, even if you have several thousands of folks in the company. And then I found that we have more and more these kind of workshops in the company for different processes, for different reasons. When people get together, put some sticky notes on the walls, talk about some stuff, and then naturally they know about everything. So I really like this approach, and I keep in mind that human interaction is definitely something very important and should be in place all the time. And actually it kind of resonates with what we have in Agile Manifesto, right? So people and interactions should be over tools and documentation, I believe, something like this. The last thing about processes, I believe it was the last one, place. So that's an Atlassian thing called place. Place. There is a whole public portal for this, and this place, they basically describe different processes that you can have and follow when you deal with some certain problems. And that's kind of a library of well-defined, I think play is the right word for this, plays when you get together with the team, follow some certain steps, and eventually you're guaranteed that you have some outcome. You will have some outcome as a result. And these plays are aligned with certain problems that you can deal with within product team. And everything that you need to do is just to find this play, be prepared, walk through all the stages, and eventually, in most of the cases, you will have some solution. You will have some outcome of this 1 hour meeting. So I give you an example of Daisy, like decision making. That's another play that is here. Now this affinity sorting is also most probably a play here. So there is a whole bunch of processes available, which are available for everyone, which you can follow if you have some struggles and you have some problems to deal with. So just something very useful, maybe not something so much irregular, but yeah, just another good resource that I thought it could be beneficial to share with you guys. And the last one, kind of regular thing, it's not very unique to Atlassian, give some space for creativity. So we have this hackathons called Ship It, when you have 24 hours to innovate. Many companies have hackathons, and that's not something unique. But there is actually a whole culture here about Ship It, and it's very good when you have this kind of process, when you encourage people to be creative and do some crazy stuff. And many good things came out of this Ship It initiative. Actually, Jira Service Desk, which is vertical solution, one of the most successful vertical solutions, was a result of one of the Ship Its, as well as such weird things as Homebrew or do-it-yourself video studio, like many different crazy things happening during these days. And that's fun, at the same time very beneficial for the company. So good thing to keep in mind. And talking about fun, the last part is about culture. It's very quick, I try to make it very fast. Several more things that I noticed that help us to move faster, but mostly connected with what people think and how they do things. First of all, values. That sounds a bit more like marketing, bullshit. So it's mostly used in many companies for HRs to attract more hires, and then no one remember about values anymore. But basically, values are something that here people use on an everyday basis, and I was very surprised with this. So we have some interesting values like open company, no bullshit, or don't fuck the customer. Very, very straightforward values. And I hear regularly on an everyday basis when on the meeting, someone can say, so, hey mate, this thought that you shared, I mean, sorry, but in the spirit of open company, no bullshit, that's total bullshit. We are not going to do this. And that helps people to be direct. That helps people to streamline the conversation. And even if they say something uncomfortable, this kind of values help them to do the right call faster. And that's something that I noticed. I was surprised with, that people actually use them by themselves. And I thought it a good thing to share. Another one, again, coming back to Confluence. Aside all the documents that I mentioned, all the like work stuff, we have blogging culture here at Atlassian. You can write your blogs in Confluence, and I was surprised how open people are here and what kind of private stuff they can share, and they share here within these blogs when they feel that that's the right time for this. And the whole company support this. So that's kind of the safe environment that was a surprise for me. I mean, I saw the blog, I've seen the blog of the guy who talked how he get a mortgage to buy a house. And I mean, that was pretty personal stuff. I've seen many blogs about grief and very, personal stuff, sad times when people just wanted to share it, and the whole company then just tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey, mate, that's okay. Just you will be fine," and that helped. And altogether, seeing these blogs all the day helps you to get this feeling that that's actually a safe environment, and you can talk about almost anything, and that's good. Almost the last one: remote-friendly processes. The one thing that I wanted to mention, and that I really liked, that actually we were practicing remote-friendly processes way before this COVID times, and way before we went remote as all the companies. So we had some meetings and we had some processes in my team which we tried to make remote-friendly. We even had stand-ups and sprint plannings just from our desks through Zoom, just to make more comfortable those people who are working from home these days. And even if everyone was in the office, we still were doing this just for the sake of being remote ready. And that's something that actually really helped us, my team personally, and us as a company. Because now, I mean, yes, a couple of days ago, we got a message from founders saying that we're going to stay remote and work from home until the end of this year, like 7 months more. And almost, I mean, pretty much everyone was happy because we are really kind of remote friendly. And that was cool. So that was something that really helped. Last thing, I think I'm running out of time, so just want to make it really quick. That's the desk. We have absolutely different desks in the offices. But the one thing which is similar and which made the difference is the wheel. That was the first company where I saw that the teams were building from scratch in one day, and people were just standing up and pushing and leaning up their leaning in and pushing their desk and moving into another team in one day without any friction, without any pain, and it was very natural. I myself, I moved six times, I guess, during this year and a half within the office from one place to another. I changed a couple of times the team, and it was very natural. The whole company is agile in terms of office and where you sit and where you work, what goals do you have, and you can just kick off the new team with a new goal and with a new strategy in 2 days, and everyone will be happy with this. So that's cool. And we're sharing all the time, the last slide. So we are a huge team of PMs. You see, all the guys that you see on these photos are product managers of Atlassian. And we have a yearly conference where actually it's just a conference. We share all different crazy things and thoughts about how we do our work, how we work in a very open manner, and also networking and getting better to know each other. All these things help us to make sure that we are keeping ourselves focused on the right things, and we can deal with all these challenges that I mentioned in the beginning. So yeah, that helps us. And luckily, we are in a good position to keep moving and keep the ball rolling. So I put together all these advices to myself together on this slide. Hope it helped. Hope I made it a bit interesting. And if you have any questions, happy to discuss. Sorry for running a bit out of time, but I think we're good here. So thank you.
Thanks, Dima. Thanks for a great presentation. I've actually noted myself a couple of things that we can take here to Rike. I really like that decision-making history because, like, as a fresh PM, I come to a team that has a long history of releases, and I really need to spend time talking to a lot of people in order to figure out what the decisions were made. So probably start keeping the history of those decisions can help us out. We're running a bit of time, but we would like to give our audience a bit of time to, to make a pause between the meetings, between the speakers. But I probably take out time for one question. So we got a question from Ilya, who is asking, so changes to platforms are usually more complex and impacting bigger parts of the system that are more targeted and focused on solutions. So how do you still keep those changes as small shippable increments?
First of all, I don't think that we have a goal to keep all the platform changes small. I mean, we definitely follow iterative approach when we talk about solutions and building things that should hit the general audience sooner than later, like building some new features for some certain group of customers. But when we talk about platformish things, I think it's okay here to be focused on a outcome, eventual outcome, and do all the things right in some ways, in some cases, instead of moving even faster when you talk especially about platform things. And I believe in this kind of environment, when you have so many products and so many platforms, that's actually the only way how you do this. The only thing you should keep in mind that you should clearly distinguish platform things and solution things, things that should be long-term focused and should enable many products and should enable much more value in the long-term future. And those things that should be built fast should bring value faster and should enable customers to use products as soon as possible. So I think we managed to clearly distinguish these two things, and those which falls into platform category, we are okay to do this a bit longer and as a big chunks of work. At the same time, we really spend a lot of time to figure out and flesh out all the details before we start this work. So that's actually a small projects rather than small features, big projects rather than small features. At the same time, solutions are shipped fast and in different way. Hope I answered this question.
Mm-hmm.